So yeah, hey, should we get stuck? Are you sitting comfortably? You got a drink?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all right.
Good man. I got I've just literally, like I said, just finished the gym. Tiny Rebel give me beers every episode.
Class.
So yeah, it's all right to be fair. Like, I get every now and again, I nip down there, I get 64 cans and come back. It's brilliant to be fair. They sort me out, but I'm trying to lose. Like I said, I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds, so I'm gonna try not to have it. I've got a squash here as well, but if you hear a little, I've caved in.
I'll be jealous.
Hey, mate, right, let's get into it. Episode 98, Catflap Chats. I am excited to have Cardiff City legend, and I've looked online loads, I've looked on social media, and everyone just keeps saying absolute legend, Mr. Scott Young, the original one club man. I've seen someone write before. Yeah. And then I know you had a little stint there with Newport, towards the end. How's things, pal? What's going on in your world? What's news? What are you up to?
Oh, obviously all's good. Everything's good. Obviously, it's been a tough couple of years through the pandemic and that. But obviously left Cardiff City after 27 years at the club last sort of October, and spent a nice Christmas with the family, even though it was obviously in the middle of the pandemic. But now I'm working down at Nathaniel Castle, partnership manager, so looking after the sporting world. Completely new challenge for me, and one I'm thoroughly enjoying at the moment.
How did you find that transition, I suppose, from sports world and the bubble that is the sports world, and I suppose football's a different level again to potentially rugby and some of the other sports that I'm a bit more familiar with, into that business world and, you know, the 9 till 5. Well, it's not 9 till 5 in cars, is it?
No.
It's was it 7 till 7 and Saturdays probably?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Wayne's slightly different for me. Obviously, he knows my background in that, so I go there, do my job, and he sort of, the hours are what I need to do really more than certain hours. So yeah, he's really good in that way. It's helped to the transition that I'm still dealing with the sporting world. I sort of haven't come straight from it, so I'm still speaking to people at Cardiff City, still speaking to people, the FAW, and football players, rugby players, hockey players, women's netball players. So I'm still constantly speaking to the sporting world, which has helped in that transition, I suppose. In terms of the business side, obviously I run the foundation at Cardiff for many years, so that was sort of half and half sport, half business. So it's been good. I've really enjoyed it up until now. It's been really good, to be fair, and hopefully it continues.
You still, I think I've seen on your social media, you're still managing though as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So obviously when I left Cardiff, I hadn't really managed or coached for probably 4 or 5 years, or took a team after I left the first team, and I probably needed that little break after the first team, but probably not for that long. So local club Cambrian, who are a well-run club, and looking to progress, sort of fell on my lap, and I took in. I'm obviously back in management part-time and really enjoying it, to be fair. It's I've got the bug back, as you say, and looking to progress that club as far as we can go. Obviously the aim is to get to the top level in Wales and compete at the top level.
Well, before we get into obviously Cardiff City and your career there, what is the state of Welsh football like at a more grassroots level? Because obviously the pandemic hasn't helped, but I don't know, like when you see Wales rugby, like the stadium's packed, wicked, right? But when you see Wales football and they get to the Euros, like it seems like it's a different level. So what's it like at a grassroots level?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and obviously after sort of being at that level a few years ago and going to more of an elite level at Cardiff and coming back, it's definitely progressed at the level we're playing at now. I mean, obviously there's a lot more money involved in the transition from Wales' elite level and the one below. It's a six-figure sum on it if you go up these days. So a lot of people are sort of chasing that, and I've been certainly surprised with the quality of some of the players at this level. We've got a few players, we're being watched week in, week out from professional clubs, looking to make that transition from sort of semi-pro to pro. So there's certainly players out there at this level, and for me, over the last 5 years, where I've been away from it, the standards certainly gone up.
And how do you find, like, you've come from, when was your debut now? Was it let me get this right. 93?
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
So when you look at like kids now coming through, right? Well, you were 16 then, you had your debut of Cardiff City, right? When you look at kids coming through now, are they different? Like, have you got to treat them differently? Because I can imagine back in the 90s, it was probably a bit more of a tougher and harsher environment as an academy kid coming through.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the modern day young lad these days completely different to the young lad of 16, 17 in the 90s. Obviously, everything's sort of advanced, the technology, the online stuff and everything. So, the way children grow up these days is completely different. I mean,
yeah,
like you say, when we were coming through in the early 90s, certainly a tougher experience to what they get these days. And a better grounding, I believe. But obviously things have changed, and the opportunity these young lads and these young sport elite personnel get these days, they got the chances they got, the facilities they got, all the help they got. I mean, we used to train on concrete pitches, you know what I mean? The schoolyard at the age of 14 when I was training for Cardiff City.
Yeah.
And now, you don't even, they're on the top surfaces, they get everything provided for them. So opportunity-wise, I think it's there for them. We've just got to find the elite coaches have to find the balance of, treating them with respect, but giving them a good grounding so they're ready for that elite football as well. It's a tough gig, because you've seen so many different cases of bullying and everything around, but these young lads do need a proper grounding as well to make it at that level, because when you walk into that first team change room at 16, 17, it's a tough place to go. It's not an easy place. Everyone's fighting for 11 spots in the team, and there's probably 30 people in there, so it's a tough old gig, to be fair.
Would you ever get frustrated, like with kids, like even at the level you're at now, or when you're at the elite level? Because the money, it seems from an outside, I know nothing about professional football in terms of the inside of a club, but the money they must be getting now compared to when you were coming through just must put them at a different mindset, almost like they've made it, or they've got it, they can afford this car, that car. I suppose it comes down to their core values and maybe their upbringing. I don't know, but it must have got frustrating at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously down to the individual himself. I mean, do I get frustrated? Yeah, I do. I see so many young kids with so much talent.
Yeah.
But the mentality side of it is massive for me. I heard Jamie Gallagher speaking to someone doing an interview last week, and he was saying, like, day in, day out, he had to be at the top of his game because his natural ability, wasn't what the others were, and very similar to me on a lower level, my mentality, my work ethic of going into training day in, day out and giving my 100%, and taking every day as if it was my last. I had to do it. And then you see some with much more talent that, just flit in, flit out as if it is what it is,
Yeah.
And that's frustrating, because, at the level I'm coaching it now, managing it now, we got players with some real talent, and I'm trying to drill into them. Look, you don't want to go and work in the factory week in, week out, or you don't want to go and work on the site week in, week out. Take this seriously. You've got an absolute opportunity. You sign one contract these days at a good level of football, and you're done for life.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, should the money be the driver? No, you got to have a passion for the sport. You got to have a passion to play it, because ultimately it's a job. People say it's a great life, but it's a massive sacrifice as well. Elite level sport, people don't realize the sacrifice you've got to give as well to earn that money. And your Christmases, you're traveling a lot, you're away from the family 3, 4, 5 days a week. It's tough. It's a tough one, but you're paid well, so you got to deal with it. But the drive in these kids these days Is it where it should be? Majority probably not. With what's at the end of the carrot, like, you know, so many opportunities out there for him. It's unbelievable.
Is there pathways now for some of your kids to come through? I seen you signed a guy who had just been released by Swansea, was it?
Yeah.
What's the pathway for him to get back into, maybe not? It might not be Swansea, it might be a league down or 2 leagues down, but into professional football. Like, what's the pathway like?
I think it's changing. It was a tough pathway if you talk, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I think it was a tough pathway, but now with obviously clubs and financial restraints on a lot of clubs, there's a lot of scouts sort of out watching this level now. For example, I can tell you now, we've had Wolves, Everton. I've seen Man City scouts at games these days. So they're looking at that sort of top end of the grassroots as well for a little gem to bring through. And I've just named them clubs. They're all Premier League clubs. That's right. Cardiff City, Newport County, and them watching. So there are opportunities, and I think that, for example, I went to watch a youth team game, Cambrian versus Llanelli, probably 6 weeks back, something like that. Man City scout was there, Wolves scout were there, and within 5 minutes, seeing this lad, was like, wow, Llanelli set forward.
Did he get signed?
Yeah, he did.
I saw that. Yeah,
it was mad. Like, within 10 days, I believe, he'd gone on a trial to Wolves, and they signed him to give him a 3-year contract within 2 days. So it's there. There's players there. It's just it's getting them right, making sure they're right mentality wise as well, because it's tough at this level. You're training twice a week, so you got to look after yourself and condition yourself.
Yeah.
Within as well, you know what I mean? So there are opportunities there, certainly.
Class, I love that. I'd love to go back to the beginning for you, if you don't mind. And what was your pathway coming through? Because making your debut at 16 is pretty special, especially when... Did you make your debut as a defender?
No, actually, I'm not sure if it was 16 or 17. I might have just turned 17.
Okay.
But it was a crazy situation. And when I tell people about it now, they just don't believe it. But obviously, I was an apprentice at Cardiff, training. We had a good group, actually. I think it was 7 of us got off as professionals in my year group at the end of the season. But sort of just after Christmas, second year, just started training with the first team quite regular. And then there was a phone call on a Friday afternoon out of the blue saying that, you're in the squad tomorrow, in the 18 or whatever it was at the time, 15, 16 man squads, only 3 subs. Make sure you're at the ground for 1:30 and see how we go. So I guess the ground, and it was me and another guy called Kevin Bartley, who was a centre forward, the youth team player with me. One of us was going to be on the bench and one of us was going to miss out. Unfortunately for Kevin Bartley, he wasn't feeling great. So I got my chance on the bench. Stock put at home. We actually won 3-0, and I made my debut. I come on for Phil Stant. So Phil Stant come off. Nathan Blake went centre forward. And I started on the right wing, believe it or not, which is crazy. But I can remember it to this day. I mean, Harry Parsons was the kit man there. I don't know if you remember Harry. He was a legend of a guy. Big guy, old, but a legend of a guy. And he was a kit man. And obviously, I was getting ready to go on the pitch. Took my shirt on, ready, and all that. And he says, "Do you want one of these?" "What do you want?" "A little tot of whiskey." Something like that. No chance.
Yeah.
Well, it'll settle you down. I said, "No, I'm fine." And anyway, so Stant is coming off, and I'm like, just turned 17, and Phil Stant's walking off, and he is raging. I can tell. With 2-0, he is fuming. And I'm thinking, I've got to go on here for this guy. And as he's walking to me, he starts taking his top off. And as he comes, he just slings his top right at my feet. And I'm shaking anyway. I'm like,
fucking hell.
Fuck me. So he apologised later. It's just obviously he's coming off. He's fuming. He was doing all right.
Yeah.
I think he'd scored or something. So, Anyway, so I ran on. And the physio, God bless him, Jimmy Goodfellow, his last words to me, obviously, was make an impression. Now, I'm a 17-year-old Ronda boy. Listen, I ain't got the greatest talent in the world, but I was a crazy fucker, and I worked out. And I remember the ball went over the top, like after about 5 minutes of me coming on, and it was like a 50-50 with the keeper. And I'm thinking, I've got to smash him. I've got to. So I've just smashed him, and then the fans just went up, like, obviously, and I think then they realised that obviously I'm a local lad, I'm one of them, and from there me and the fans have gone great from there, and it's mad how I started my career as a right winger.
I love that. Like, did you even have a squad number at that point?
No, we didn't have squad numbers then. It was just sort of
1 to 11,
12, 13, 14. So mental.
I love that. That's class. And like, what was it like back in the day playing in the old Ninian? Because like I moved to Cardiff 2004, and it was there for a bit, and then obviously the new City Stadium came out. But I never went to the old Ninian Park. I didn't experience it. I miss it, honestly. Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate what we've got, the new stadium and all the hospitality and what it brings to the club and that. But wow, Ninian Park was some stadium for atmosphere. You know, it was such an intimidating place for away fans to come and away teams. It was special, you know, and obviously it had the little curve in the pitch. When you're on one side, you couldn't see the other side of the pitch, and it was just special. I mean, from me, sort of standing on the bob bank as one of those, and then a couple of months later, I'm sort of on that pitch. It's mind blowing, but yeah, it was a special place, and we miss it obviously.
What at 17? Sorry, like at that age, I know like you're around men all day, so you kind of like, I can imagine you kind of almost get a bit like, I've made it, but like I'm a man now, you know, and then you soon realise you're not, because you're just getting it a bit. Like, what was your mentality like? Do you take things like that in your stride when they ring you and say you're having your debut tomorrow, or you're in the squad tomorrow, you're having your debut, or did you let it go to your head a little bit? Like, what were you like at that age?
I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a unique situation that I was in, but I was slightly different, because after I made my debut, I didn't sort of play much then after that, until we played Stockport away. When I made my full debut, which is crazy. So I made my full debut Stockport away, and from there, really, I played in the first team sort of a lot. So I wasn't a youngster who sort of went in for 2 or 3 games and then come out. I sort of played and continued to play for most of my career in the first team. So I don't think I had sort of time to think about that. Do you know, sometimes a kid, you come out and then they give you a rest and then you go back in.
Yeah.
It was like constant, Saturday, Tuesday. And before I knew it, I've grown. I'm a man. You have to be a man. I mean, my debut was against Stockport, and the 2 lads up top, massive giants. One was 6'9" and one was 6'3". That's my debut, and I'm marking them. Me and Jason Perry competing with that. You have to be a man, because if you don't behave and turn into a man and trust yourself, you don't survive. Simple as that. And that's in football.
275 caps, I want to say, for Cardiff City. Is that there or thereabouts? Am I right?
Yeah, thereabouts. Lots of injuries throughout my career, which was disappointed. Obviously, retired at the age of 28. So, you know, I was proud of what I'd done, but I would have loved to have more. But obviously, my body wouldn't sort of let me do that.
Did you ever have interest and ever think about stepping away from Cardiff, just with some of the injuries, fresh start, go again somewhere else?
Yeah, there was opportunities. I knew when Mark Delaney was there, obviously he went on to Aston Villa. Me and him had lots of interest from Celtic at one stage. You know, that would have been obviously a nice one, but the club turned offers down, I believe. When Phil Neal was manager, I know Coventry come in for me, but the club turned it down. But Any regrets? If you ask me that, no. Listen, Cardiff City was my club, always will be my club. And to play for them all my career and start and finish there was, obviously I went to Newport for 5 or 6 games because I thought I could do part-time at the time, but
yeah,
they wouldn't allow it. But no, to play for Cardiff City for all my career was special.
What is it about Cardiff City? What is it about the fans? Because again, like I've not been to see Swansea, but I have been to the City Stadium and watched a few Cardiff games. I was there for when it was at Reading in the playoff and they lost 3-2 at home.
Yeah.
I was there for that. I think that was my first taste, I think, of a game there. And it was hostile but fun, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I loved it because the atmosphere and the tension, and it gets a bit raucous, and I quite enjoy that.
Yeah.
What was it like for you as a local lad, like being able to be in the change room, be around these players, but you're the heart of the community? You'd go back home, say up the valley or whatever, and you're Cardiff City player. What was that like to live that bubble and live in that life?
Surreal, really, for a guy, you know, a young lad in the Rhondda who grew up in a working class family. You know, my mother was raised in Penrith, which was one of the rough estates in the Rhondda, and I spent a lot of my sort of younger age up there kicking balls around the car parks in Penrith, and then obviously to go through the ranks. Well, I actually started my first, before I went to Cardiff, I was at Swansea.
Yeah.
Which I can tell you about. It's a great little story, but sort of it was quite surreal because I was, and I always will be, a Rhondda boy. After every match, you know, I'd have a pint with the players after, but then I'd always make my way back to the Rhondda. You know, I had a great group of friends. I you know, sitting in the corner of the pub with the boys is better than any nightclub. You know what I mean? It was just every time back to the Rhondda. Part of the community. It's where I grew up. It's where they'd probably have to carry me out of, if I'm being honest now. You know what I mean? Unless I can persuade my missus to move to Australia with me, I think they'll carry me out here. But yeah, you know, they were special times. You know, I was one of them.
Yeah.
You know, although I stepped on that pitch, and it was a great privilege every week to step on the pitch, I was still a Cardiff City fan, first and foremost. So I think they appreciated me in terms of that, and they knew I gave 100% for the club week in, week out.
Class. When I put on Instagram about a couple of questions stuff, a few people replied about they were there when you scored that goal against Leeds. Talk me through that. So I looked on YouTube and try to find it. It's the most pixelated. It was on Sky Sports, wasn't it? It was the most pixelated video I could find. But obviously I've seen it. Like, talk me through that, and like the emotion of scoring, and like I think I've got quite a good grasp of what it's like to be a rugby player, because I know tons of people who are pro rugby players, played for Wales and so on, right? I can't imagine what it's like to score in front of, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people, and they're all chanting your name, and you're a club legend, local. Like, I can't imagine what that elation, like, I think I'd cry, but like happiness, like the emotion, you know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Leeds game was a special game. It was, you know, from honestly, if we could replicate that at Cardiff City week in, week out, that atmosphere, this club and these group of players would, you know, if we would win week in, week out, because the atmosphere was electric. I mean, I remember going out like 45 minutes before kick-off for the warm-up, and the stadium was full, and you never see that these days. It was full. It was a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
They'd all been out all weekend. You know, it was rammed, and you could just feel it. It was electric, you know, so intimidating for the Leeds fans. And obviously the build-up, for some reason, this is crazy, and I've said this many of times I've been interviewed and done things like this, that we actually fancied ourselves on the day.
Yeah.
As a massive underdog, for some reason, we fancied ourselves, and we went up for that warm-up. We were like 10 foot tall. We fancied it. And I remember Corky saying, half time, listen, one of you is going to be an hero today. One of you. And it's easy to say, honestly, it's so easy to say, but I could just feel that something was happening. It's mental. It's mental, honestly. It was, And when we had that corner and I went up, I was one of those, because I say to these lads when I'm coaching them now, a lot of times defenders go for corners as if they're just jogging up for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Every time you go up, you got to mean to score. You got to, you want to go. And that was me. That was, right, I'm going up here to score. I'm not going up here just to making the numbers up. And when
they were top of the Prem then as well at that point.
Top of the Prem. They were.
Their team, like, I remember, like, just from
Fowler, Viduka, Ferdinand. It was like 130 million.
Because they went quite far. They went semi-final of the Champions League.
Champions League as well, yeah.
I remember Deportivo La Coruña. I remember it. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And yeah, obviously scoring that goal was amazing, to be fair. But typical me, obviously, I was more than happy to score the goal. But the tackle I made on Viduka, I think, was more important for us as a team.
Yeah. As
a defender, people don't talk about that as much as the goal, but I think that's more important. He's clean through. If I don't make it, he scores, and we probably lose a tie.
Yeah.
So I think that was more important than the goal. But yeah, afterwards, I mean, Sam and Man, and it was a mental situation. And to be fair, I come in after we had a few beers. Robbie Fowler, I had Robbie Fowler's shirt. It's up in my sort of
class,
and we got a shirt together. It was amazing. But I had a couple of pints for the lads back. My mum and dad at the Colliers pub, in the Valleys in Triallo. So straight after the match, straight back there, and all the boys are there.
Free bar for you?
Well, probably not with them, no. But but I think we left there it was 7:15 in the morning. And my missus, I remember my missus was sleeping on the bar. She was smashed. We didn't know at the time, but she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't know, but she was smashed. And we get back to the house, and we jump into bed about 7 o'clock, and fucking blinds down. And about 20 minutes later, my missus is up out of bed, opening the blinds. I said, "What are you doing?" We just got into bed. She said, "You need to get up." I said, "Well, why?" She said, "There's about 10 Sky Sports vans outside, satellites everywhere, waiting to interview you." And I'm like, "I've just fucking got into bed."
I can hardly talk.
Oh, honestly, if everyone sees that video, I am absolutely smashed. Honestly.
But I love that, because I don't think there's enough of that. Like, you've come from an era where it was obviously professional, but it must have still had that amateur vibe to it in parts. And then now there's none of that.
No, you could enjoy yourself at the right times.
Yeah.
I don't think they do so much now, obviously, because I mean, we used to come back off the bus, from away games with a good win, and you couldn't walk up the aisle. They was just full of that there. It was. I love crates everywhere. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
And that's what made, in those days, that was just as vital if you got a good win as the match itself, because the togetherness and it was brilliant.
And you see it now, they've got their headphones on, and it's all a bit I think rugby still holds on to a little bit of that amateur era, but they're seen as louts almost. Whereas footballers, they all just go to Dubai and go there, but it's all camera phones, and they can't relax and enjoy themselves anymore.
Honestly, I've walked into change rooms at all ages, Cardiff, at Canberra. They don't even speak.
No.
They message each other in the change room.
On WhatsApp.
WhatsApp each other. He's 10 yards away, man. Go and speak to him. You know what I mean?
Fucking hell.
I think that's a big problem we got on the pitch as well with these younger kids. They don't speak on the pitch. It's a massive communication on the football pitch, and a rugby pitch, is vital. They don't speak these days because they don't speak off the pitch, because they're texting each other rather than speaking to each other. Crazy situation, but that's the modern day player.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Just for context of anyone who might not have seen that Leeds game or know about it, right? The Leeds team, right, back in the day was like a championship managers. But to be fair, your team, right? You, Andy Legg, Gabbidon, Kavanagh, Ernie was there. So decent team, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got Nigel Martin, Danny Mills, Gary Kelly, Rio Ferdinand, Jonathan Woodgate, Ian Hart, Lee Bowyer, David Batley, Alan Smith got sent off, Mark Viduka, Robbie Fowler, Michael Dewberry, Paul Robinson, David O'Leary as manager. That is
it's crazy.
A proper top of the table Premiership team, right?
You just look like Woodgate played for Real Madrid.
Yeah, although he did score an own goal on debut. So
yeah. It's crazy. The players they had: Ferdinand, Man United, Fowler.
Legend, like Premier League legend.
Yeah. But it was a special day, and it'll stick with me for the rest of my life. And everyone remembers me for that, which I don't mind. But
yeah,
it was a special day for the club as well. It'll go down in history for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So you've played that game. I don't know what the next game was you played after, right? But how, as a professional footballer, you as a person, probably not the footballer, how do you as a person, your mindset, get yourself up for the next game, knowing it's not a Leeds United or Premiership opposition and it might be freezing cold, soaking wet? Like, how do you change that mindset and mentality to go, that's done, here's the next one?
You're spot on, and that's the problem. And it's something we struggled with because after the Leeds game, we went on a poor run. We lost a few easy games. We lost in the next round of the cup, which was a winnable game. So as a team, we really struggled coming from that back to a week in, week out, and we struggled for a few weeks. And people don't realise, to be fair, I'm not sure how many games I played. I haven't really checked, but I didn't play many games after the Leeds game. My sort of back injury started playing up again, and I didn't play many games. But as a group, we really struggled after it. From the eyes of that, we struggled to get our focus back onto the league, and it was tough. And we found we had a tough couple of weeks, to be fair.
That in those injuries that stacked up a bit towards the end, and obviously, like you said, you retired at 28. What was it, 03-04 season, I think, maybe?
Yeah.
How do you personally deal with that? Like, what do you do away from the pitch and training to, like, not think about it and relax and enjoy yourself? Because if that's all you've known since you were 16 and before, probably, that's tough to come to terms with because you're not quite in control of it.
Yeah, so in terms of my back injury, it was there from a young lad. I think I had my first cortisone in my lower back at the age of 17.
Okay.
I had 19 cortisones in my lower back throughout my career.
Bloody hell.
That doesn't help. But in terms of sort of retirement, I'd signed a new 2-year contract and then didn't play pretty much. And I knew my career was over at elite level. So I had that 2 years really where I was still at the club week in, week out, but not playing on anything. So I had that sort of time to get around it. It wasn't instant.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought I dealt with the retirement really well, really, really well. But if I look back now, what I was like, I struggled. I honestly struggled. You know what?
Yeah.
I had a bar in the house. I used to find myself on a Saturday morning having a few beers, watching, whatever, and then going out, which I thought was fine because you haven't been able to do it for years and years. But when I look back, I think, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was tough. It was tough times. You going from something like you're pretty much a robot because you're told where to go at what time, day in, day out, for 10, 15 years. And then all of a sudden, bang, what do you do?
Yeah, no routine.
No routine, not being told where to go. So it was tough. It was really tough. I mean, I thought I dealt with it, like I said, well, but at the time I didn't deal with it well. What I will say, the club at that time looked after me really well.
Yeah.
In terms of offering me a job, keep me within the club and that. So I had probably, when I look back, at 6 months of a bit of a bender, and then reintegrated myself into the club into a different sort of approach, really.
I suppose you've got so much IP there about the club itself, the inner workings, the players that are coming through. You must, as a senior player, would know them all. Like, it's good that they didn't just see you later. Like, they want to get you to get that experience across to the rest of them.
Yeah, they pretty much, and if I'm being honest, they pretty much gave me a free rein to do what I wanted to when I retired. They said, look, do you want to go and work in the academy? Do you want to go and work in the foundation? And at the time, typical Ronda lad, I wanted to give back something to the community. I wanted to go back into the schools. I wanted to help them and, get out there and get the brand of Cardiff City out there. So that's what I'd done that. And within a year from starting in the foundation, I ended up running it and managing it and that. And it was a great experience, obviously coming from football, the business side of it and the building of, rather than building a team in football, I built a team out of football and enjoyed my time there, obviously, and then transferred across into the academy.
Yeah. How was your how was your little stint at Newport? And then you've had a couple of like various coaching roles you've had. I think I've got down here you were Porth and then Talbot in the Prem. Like, how did you find that again, not being quite at the elite level that you were at and dropping down a little bit? Like, was that transition easy or was it harder because it wasn't quite the level you were used to?
Newport was okay because we had a lot of sort of ex-Cardiff players there. We had a good group there, but obviously it didn't last very long. I thought, I could come out. So when I retired, I could have had an operation on my back that maybe would have sorted the problems out. But it was a small percentage that I could have come out paralysed in a wheelchair. And I had 2 young kids at the time, so I knocked that on the head. But I was sort of given a green light to sort of, you could be okay part-time and just training twice a week and resting and playing. So I tried Newport, but I lasted 7 games. And it wasn't right. I couldn't, be Scott Young on the pitch. And if you knock yourself on the pitch, it was no good. So that sort of faded away. And then obviously the next part was going into coaching and managing. And I enjoyed my stint at Porth, Tom Pentra, even at Newport, assistant manager, Port Talbot. Good grounding for me as a coach and a manager. Really enjoyed it. Different challenges. A lot tougher than managing full time, I believe, because you only got the players a couple of hours a week. So to do any sort of work with them is really tough rather than having every week. But enjoyed it. Wouldn't change any of them for the world. They all sort of learned from every job, and then ended up obviously at Cardiff City again, thrown in the deep end,
taking over the main man Ollie.
Yeah, it was one of the best moments of my life. I mean, to play for Cardiff City is amazing, but to manage the club you love and to do it with one of your best mates who. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. Was a special sort of 3-4 weeks, to be fair, and a great experience doing that. Just wish I had the chance to do it longer. Obviously, then was assistant manager for a couple of years. Which was great, but when I look back, I'm not an assistant manager really. I'm a manager, if I'm being brutally honest. I got my years. I'm quite strong-minded, so. But enjoyed the experience of it all.
Two things with that, what you just said there. Like, how was that whirlwind of that 4 weeks where you're there and you and Gabbidon are just like, it's ours now for a bit, but then having to like toe the party line being an assistant, because you always see in football, right? And I don't know, I've just thought of Steve Clark, right? I always remember him at Chelsea, he was like an amazing number 2. And then when he managed it, obviously it just hasn't quite had the success he had as a number 2. Why is it like some people in football are number 2s and they're fucking great at it, but when they manage, they don't quite hit the height, and the other way around? Some really good managers at like lower level then might go to like be an assistant, but it just doesn't work out or whatever. Like, why is that?
Yeah, so sort of taking you back, it's a crazy situation really, but I left the foundation to be the manager of the under-18s that summer. And then obviously a couple of games into the season, it's a Thursday morning. I've just come off the A470 into the academy, and I get a call of Steve Bowley and the chairman saying, obviously Ollie's been sacked. We want you and Danny Gabbidon to take the team on the weekend. And that's what it was. It was literally, will you take the team on the weekend? And me being obviously Cardiff City fan, it was like, no problem. I'm going to jump straight back in my car, drove to the Vale, met up with Gabs. The lads were just coming off training. We got them in and we just took it from there. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Obviously, the first game against Derby away was up against Steve McLaren, ex-England manager. And you know, we've set the team up on the Friday. We had one day. We set the team up how we want to do it, and you know, we were 2-0 up at Pride Park. You know, against Sing, it was what dreams were made of. Obviously they come back to 2-2, but yeah, it was a fantastic experience, and obviously doing it with Gab's brilliant. But going back to your question on sort of managers and assistant managers, you know, I've always said when I left Newport County as assistant manager, I said I'd never be assistant manager again because it doesn't suit me. It's not my skill set, sort of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times the assistant manager does the majority of the coaching and that type of stuff, and you manage and make the decisions and all that. And that's what I was about. I've slightly changed now. I enjoy coaching more, but I said I'd never be assistant again. And then lo and behold, obviously the situation happens at Cardiff, and being a Cardiff City fan, you can't turn it down.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm saying you said you'd never do this again.
Yeah.
And then the other part of my brain is saying, what are you thinking? You got to do it. You know, it's an opportunity. But so did it. I enjoyed it. It was a tough experience. It was a good experience. I'm working with some amazing players. You know, the group we had then was crazy, but some real good players in it as well.
Do you, when you're on the pitch, like the training pitch now, like when you're going back there, so you and Gabs are going back, like in rugby, there's this thing where it's stash day and you get all your kit and you're like, oh fuck, oh yeah, here we go. Like, do you get that in football? And like for me, it was always, because I played football, I play 5% every week. I still get excited by getting like a new pair of boots, and I have to go shopping, and like I fucking love boots. I don't know why, it's just my thing. Like, do you get that in football still, or is it just like sad? You're like pathetic?
Funny enough, we do. But at the time, the kit was shit. It was like Conway, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It was shocking, honestly. So that was bad timing from us, you know. Then obviously after that it was Adidas, and you get loads of kit and trainers, boots, the lot. It's amazing, you know. And I'm one of those. I'm a big on you feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. So in terms of the kit, it was a bit disappointing what we had then.
I seen that, and also like when you're on the training pitch, then like you're doing your coaching or whatever, like did you still like get the bug a little bit? Because I seen on your Twitter the other day that I think it was for like one of the vets teams, you'd curled in a free kick, so you've obviously still fucking got it, right?
My missus goes fucking mental at me, honestly. This weekend, obviously, we're going to watch a Cardiff Swansea game, and then we've got a Vets game straight after.
Yeah.
She'll be lucky if I stroll in about 7 o'clock after a few pints. I might stay out a bit longer, but I won't be able to walk. I can't move. And she's going, why are you doing it? What are you thinking? But when it's in you, it's in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, I retired at 28. Tried to play a few games locally for Newport, Tom Pentra, and that didn't really work out. And now this opportunity, obviously, to play for the Vets and get out there again and play with your friends and have that change room banter. And we've got some great players like Craig Hughes, who used to play for Newport and Coventry, Chris Ingram, ex-Cardiff City. So there's loads of sort of players who I've played with for years and years. And we came back together, and it's like we've never been apart. When you walk in that change room Sunday in half-one, and you get slaughtered for like, double XL top is just about going over your tits. You know what I mean? You can't beat that, you know what I mean? So that we love it. That's what we love. That's what the game's all about for me as well, is, you know, that's the camaraderie of your friends and your squad, like.
Class, I love that. Well, talk me through like your relationship with like Wales, because you obviously played, was it under 21s?
Yeah.
Wales B on the bench, I want to say, for a full Wales squad game against the Czech Republic, but you didn't quite get the cap. Like, what was that like to go through? Because you're there, it's literally there, but not. Like, how would you deal with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I was quite fortunate at the younger age, obviously 21s and that. I played the 21s for like 4 years, I think, 3-4 years. So I was quite fortunate. Lots of caps at 21s, playing with some great players, some great times with Bellamy. Johnny Hartson had just signed for Arsenal.
Class.
and was playing for us, the 21. He was brilliant. And I can remember the two Wally brothers, Tom and Ernie Wally, two real hard men from Arsenal, London. And we used to come into camp and they used to fucking, Tom and Ernie used to be doing press-ups and you had to beat him in press-ups and he was doing fucking, with no chance. Like, we used to have a team meeting and he'd be like, right, Monday we're doing this, Tuesday we're doing this, Wednesday we're doing this, Thursday we're doing this. And then he'd turn around to Johnny Arts and he'd go, Johnny boy, you do what the fuck you like. See you on Friday night for the game. And Johnny Arts, he's got off playing golf for that.
Shut up.
Honestly, mate, used to have a couple of games rounds of golf and come and train in on a Thursday in the match prep ready for the game on Friday. Brilliant.
Oh, that's class. I imagine that nowadays, like. Imagine that.
It's crazy, man, honestly.
It just wouldn't happen, would it? They'd be vilified. Like, imagine someone like, I don't know, John Hartson was class, right? So imagine someone, I don't know, like, I'm trying to like think of like an equivalent who's playing now. Like a top-end Premier League striker now, like 20 goals a season. Imagine them doing that.
It's madness, man. But that's...
Go on.
We were young lads at the time and he was such a, massive move. And to be fair, he'd go and have a game of golf, but then he'd train as well because it was driven in him as well. So, it was a throwaway comment a little bit of you do what you like. You know what I mean? But they used to look after him, obviously, to make sure he played on Friday. Because, like myself, his body wasn't the greatest, with injuries and that. We had some great times. Bella's, to be fair, one of the most dedicated footballers at that age I've ever seen in my life. We used to be going off to Benidorm in the summer and that or whatever. And he'd be studying the game, going to like Holland to watch different teams train. So,
was he?
Yeah, dedicated guy. You know what I mean? He was really good. So we played with some good players, and then obviously played the B internationals, and then obviously got called up for a few. I think it was 3 or 4 times. He got called up to the main squad. Was on the bench for a couple of friendlies and a couple of qualifiers. And a great experience. Something I didn't get my cap.
Yeah.
My disappointed probably was more at the time. When I look back now, when I look back at the players that were in that Welsh squad and the defenders who were there, it was a great sort of thing for me to even be around the squad, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, but looked after me, people like Gary Speed.
Yeah.
The first time I got called up, I can remember him meeting me at the main doors of the hotel and taking me in into the restaurant for breakfast because I got called up late, just outside Heathrow Airport. And sitting me on the breakfast table with like fucking Ryan Giggs and people like that, and the Southall, and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean?
That's
for me from around there, and people say was disappointed not to get a cap, but those experiences will stay with me for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I suppose they become mates, and it doesn't matter then, does it?
No, and that's exactly that. When you get to know people like that. They're one of us. They're normal guys who doing well in sort of the game and get paid a lot of money, but ultimately they're a human being and a nice guy.
I'd love to chat about. I know that there's probably basically we had a few questions you've seen on Twitter. A couple, I asked a couple of people. I asked people to ask, and so I can ask you. And there are a few around like the state of the game at the moment. So where Cardiff City are at the moment, obviously you got mixed results. They've had recent highs in the Premiership and then obviously coming back into the Championship. Sold a few players recently. Not everyone's happy when you look on social media, and I've not been there this season, so I haven't seen it. But what's going on at the moment? Like, what's the world like for Cardiff City?
Obviously, it's tough. Obviously, financially, I think it's the first year without any parachute payments for the club. So, when myself and Russ was in charge and we had that 2 years, we had to reduce the budget quite considerably. And in any business, if you're selling your best assets, not replacing them, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You know what I mean? Make no bones about it. If you sell your best players, like Swansea, look at Swansea. pretty much sold their best players. And now ain't doing so well in the Championship. That's what happens. I mean, in terms of Cardiff City, I mean, Mick McCarthy, I've met him a few times, played golf with him. Absolute incredible human being, you know, as a guy, incredible. I mean, I haven't seen him, you know, internally and on the training pitch now, but his work ethic and, you know, Terry and all the staff he's got with him. I mean, I know for 1,000,000% that he's given everything he's got for Cardiff City. So, you know, we have to give him some credit for that, because it's a tough job, you know, when you haven't got money to spend and you're sort of trying to compete at the top end of the Championship without any sort of real money to spend. But, you know, could we be doing better? Certainly we can. And if you ask Mick that, I'm sure he'd say exactly the same. You know what I mean? You know, we haven't, you know, had the best results of late, obviously, but there'll be no one harder than him, working harder than him to try and turn it around.
The other thing that I got asked about on social media was obviously in Cardiff, obviously well-known rivalry. I won't say they hate each other, but there might be a strong dislike between the fans, even if there is a mutual respect underneath it all, right? But one of the things I got asked about was Swansea City making relationships with schools in like the CF postcode area, shall we say. Like, how influential and like, what's going on with that? Like, how is that allowed in like today? Like, do all clubs do that? Like, I don't know stuff like this. Like, would Man United, have they got a base in London or wherever? Like, I don't know how this works in football.
Well, when I was sort of managing the foundation back in, you know, whatever it was, 15 years ago, whatever, it wasn't allowed at the time. You know, you had to stay on your own territory, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what it certainly wouldn't have happened on my watch. You know, in terms of what I think of it, you know, we should always be bigger and better than those on their own territory. So, you know, if they have got some sort of presence in and around the city, which obviously I'm out of that game now, so I wouldn't know. But if they have, we've got to have bigger and better and make them sort of go away, because, you know, that's our hotbed of talent, that and the valleys, you know. So we need to be making sure as a foundation, as a club, that, you know, if they have got a presence now and they're allowed to have a presence, you know, we have to be bigger and better in our own city and in our own territory, and we have to go and do the same. What they're doing, and you know, give them a bit of their own medicine as such. But you know, it's a difficult one, because you don't know the situations of the rules. You don't know the situations of both foundations, financially as well. So, but I'm certain that, you know, the rules have obviously changed and they can come up to us and work with our schools and that. If that's the case, that's fine, but we've got to make sure we're better. You know, we've got to be going in bigger and better and not driving them away, but, you know, so that they're not getting any joy, really.
Yeah, the kids want to come to Cardiff rather than Swansea. And
to be fair, they had a little spell when they were in the Premier League for a few years that they were getting a big presence everywhere, and it was maybe hurting us a little bit. But in the majority of times, within what I know, and especially academy and foundation, that, you know, we've always sort of got what we wanted in terms of players and that. So I think we're ahead of the game. You know, the academy at Cardiff.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the last 12 months, but prior to that, we was doing okay, and now we've seen the fruits of that in the first team.
Yeah, some good players coming through now and then. Obviously, get recognition at Wales level as well. So yeah, fair play to him.
Sorry, just it's a really valid point. You know, great to see Mark Harris coming on for Wales today. You know, he come through in a group with which my son was involved in, and has worked hard over the last couple of years, and now is, you know, getting where he wants to be. And if we can continue to get people like him and Sam Bowen and people like that.
Colwell as well, is it?
Ruben Colwell, George Ratcliffe, there's loads, you know. We've got an opportunity here now. We've just got to push them now to make sure they take the next step. Like you said earlier about me as a 17-year-old playing week in, week out, we've got to get them to that level.
Yeah. I feel like Cardiff more so than Swansea, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've got an affiliation with Cardiff and it's the capital city and it's a bit bigger, and it's just a hidden gem that if someone just took control of it, I'm not saying Vincent Tan hasn't done this, but if someone with a tremendous amount of money put it in, you could really tear the roof off this place and stay in the Premiership as well.
It's a capital city of Wales, you know. It deserves that, and fair play to Vincent Tan. You know, he spent a hell of a lot of money at the football club, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be where we are now. So hats off to him, and like I said on previous other podcasts and that, you know, even Steve Bowley before him, people like that, Sam Aman, you know, Steve Bowley's kept the club afloat, Sam Aman's done the same, Vincent Tan's done it, taking us to another level. But like you say, I think now we need to go to another level again, because the club, the city deserves it.
I hope so, mate. I bloody hope so. It'd be great to see him up there again. What's the future like for you then, pal? Still curling free kicks at the Vets, a bit of golf. I seen you on the golf course the other week at an event, didn't I? So what's the future for you, mate? What's going on? Yeah,
listen, I love my golf. I love my Vets football, like you say. I'll always be that. I've got my bug back for coaching and management, so we'll see where that takes me. I'd love to go to Australia or America and try it out there, but that's going to take a lot of persuasion with the wife.
Has she ever been to California?
She's been out there, yeah, but the kids are growing up now. My lad's 23, he's moved out, so my daughter's just going to uni, so I'll twist her arm a little bit more now. And so the future, who knows? I'd like it to be over there. If not, certainly back in the UK here. I want to kick on with my sort of coaching and management and enjoy life. You know, keep enjoying the golf, those charity days we go to, and that. You know,
work.
That's what it's all about.
Inverted commas.
And and keep kicking the football until probably the day I die.
Class. I love it, mate. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. It's just class to just hear the story, I suppose, from your own words. And
it's been a pleasure. I really enjoy things like this, and I appreciate you getting me on. Hopefully, get a few more footballers on.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on. I had Mark Little on from Bristol. He was at Bristol Rovers. He's just gone to Yeovil now. He came on. It was a breath of fresh air, mate, because you get to see the inside of football, rarely, that you ever see. And with rugby, I know loads of rugby players and loads have been on here, and I'm grateful for it. But I'm fascinated to get into the industries I don't know. So I'm talking to Ian Davis at the FAW. So hopefully over the next set of home games, I might be able to get some of the FAW players on here. I'm speaking to Nick at Cardiff City, Nick Heslop. So hopefully maybe one or two other Cardiff City players. But it's tough, isn't it? You know, they've all got commitments, training.
Honestly, I'll give you my number, and then no problem. I'll get a few on for you. Get people like Gabbidon on, you know.
If you, mate, I'd be so grateful. You know, anyone with. I did message Hal Robson Canoe because I've got him on LinkedIn, and he's doing this turmeric company as well, and all that. So look, anyone I'd be super grateful for, and I just love hearing from decent people and interesting stories. Like, you know, that's what you know. I'll get a message after this, and they're like, class might have seen you, but might not have really listened to you talk about certain stories, like, and it's just those little nuggets that help people, especially over the last 18 months where we've been locked down. I think people have really appreciated it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, mate. Yeah, well, I'll drop you my number and on thing, and then just drop us a WhatsApp, and I'll get some for you. Get a few on.
Top man. Hey, beer on me next time I see you at the golf, right, bye?
Top man, appreciate it.
Hey, cheers, Scott. Look after yourself, bye.
Top man. Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra.